Just- All right. So I would love to hear about something meaningful or important to you that you want to share about your week and what has been happening this week. It could be at your internship, but I know that maybe you haven't started yet, or maybe you have already started a couple weeks ago. So just anything oh yes, who has a question?
Not a question, but I was gonna ask if I could share first.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm like really excited to talk about it. Um,
Yeah.
Yesterday was my third day at my internship, and I did my first counseling session,
Yeah.
and it was, oh my gosh, it was like I actually got to do it, and I was like thrown in there. So I really loved that learning experience, and I'm excited to, keep doing it this semester. But yeah, I wanted to share that.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jess, for sharing and going first. And congrats on your session and diving right in.
Can we put everybody on full screen while they're sharing? Because everyone's so small. Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah. Is that what you mean? Full screen? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Stop sharing. Yeah, there's no reason we need to see Bugs Bunny. I may not have known who was raising hand. Millie, if I missed somebody who would raise hand first, holler out.
Sorry, my audio was messed up. I think I already told you guys like the first week of class. I had gotten into the DCFS internship. And I already started on like Monday the 25th because I thought we were supposed to, like that very first week of back in school. But I've only gone a few times. And right now it's mostly just reading really big packets of like policies and procedures. Because the supervisor needs me to take my picture first for like a special DCFS badge, I guess. Which I'm gonna take next week. And then I could tag along with the investigator to go to people's houses and like write notes down on the children. So I'm excited, but I'm also having like I think a little bit of anxiety and like I don't know if it's considered imposter syndrome because I'm just worried like I don't know like what if like I mean I don't know if they're gonna let me ask. I'm pretty sure they won't let me ask questions. Probably just the actual investigator, and I'll just sit there and take notes. Um, but I don't know. I'm starting to get anxiety, and I just want to get it over with already because I don't like this. But I'm also excited.
Thank you so much, Millie. It's a brand new place, all like the spaces that folks are entering and all these new rules and cultures. And so I can imagine the anxiety.
I can go next. So my internship so far, I'm doing it at Northeastern Illinois, so our school. I'm being a peer wellness coach. And so far it's been really good. We're doing a lot of tabling, so that means like a lot of interaction with students. And Yeah, I've liked it so far. I've met a lot of new students because I used to be more of an online type person. So now, meeting people in person and talking to them and kind of telling them about what we provide for them as students has been great. So yeah, I've been working on my communication skills as well, because I've always been like such a shy person. So now like I'm talking to more people and it's been fun, like I said. And I get to go to the events that our university holds as well. So it's been fun because I've been trying different things.
Congrats, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Sato.
Hi guys.
Hi.
So I started the same day as Millie started, August 25th. I went 3 days and I went to Labor Day weekend uh, event. So it's a drop-in center, and we still have to finish the HIPAA training. And after we complete that, they will actually give us some kind of structure. Until then, we are told to just get to know peers and talk to them and join the activities. And like Luz says, I'm a little shy too, and it's not like a serious counseling. Maybe I started to figure out that's possibly like not easier, but for my personality, listening like a one-on-one, but more this drop-in center is more like having fun together, and then different purpose is there. So which is I'm learning, and I'm trying to adjust, like get to know how, like know myself to how do I say, not mingle, but be there for the peer with the mental issues. So, which is very new to me, and I'm trying to find some kind of structure. I try to like set up a goal every day, or otherwise I was just there, just talking to them, and then day's gonna be end. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do.
Thank you.
I'll go next. Something meaningful to me is that like before classes started, I was really, really stressed about everything. And now that it started, I feel like I'm coming back down to like my normal levels and everything's okay. And I'm like, feel better now. So that means a lot to me.
Yeah, getting back to that equilibrium and not having intense stress vibes is definitely I'm glad to hear that that can happen, ebb and flow, but I'm glad you're in a good space now.
I can go next. What's up, everybody? I don't really have much to report, but um, I just want to kind of tip my hat to everybody here. When I was at my internship last Monday, I was the first half of my day, I'm working at a men's center. The second half is with kindergarten through eighth, and I was with these fourth and fifth graders, and we were having gym time. And I was tossing the football for a few of them, and I just kind of had this surreal moment that we're all in this opportunity to contribute to people's lives. And it's just, I tip my hat to everybody here for choosing this path. We have incredibly important work ahead of us, and it's pretty cool that we're all here. So, cheers.
I'll go next. I honestly don't have anything to add. I just started, so I haven't met my professor yet, but um we're just I'm still figuring things out.
And thank you so much, Imani. Figuring things out is a-okay. If there's not for anybody, this is not everybody's exactly in the same space. Like I know there's some folks who haven't even had internships, they haven't started, or maybe just started, or haven't gotten everything flowing. So I want to just encourage everybody for just being in the program, being in this class, and things are to happen, right? They may not be so I am thrilled to hear any check-in, even if it's nothing thrilling is happening, or I don't know what's happening. It can't all be puppies and roses, that's for sure. So thank you for sharing that and being honest about it.
I don't mind going next. Well, hope I wasn't jumping over anybody. Um, at my internship, I just had my second meeting. So every Tuesday, I have a meeting with my director, and we talk about like what's been going on and like what she needs me to do further. And so on Tuesday, yesterday, I just had another meeting with her, and I got a lot more clarity on what it is she wants me to do. I also got a lot more like understanding of the kind of person that she is, and like, um, because originally I think I was telling you guys I didn't understand last week what I was supposed to really be doing, and it didn't seem like it really made sense. So I actually wrote a bunch of questions that I had for her for the next time that we met, so I could kind of understand, and I just got a better understanding. She switched role, like we switched gears completely almost, rather than what it just switched because it kind of she wanted. I was supposed to be creating a hot sheet for Lake County, basically putting together all these resources. I had like she showed me something from McHenry County that was like, this is what we want, but for Lake County. And it was kind of like, go. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I tried. And then I started to think about it. And I'm like, it didn't quite make sense because it was, she didn't want to send one out until 2026. And I'm like, well, all the information that I'm gathering is going to be very like current. So I had a lot of questions for her. We ran through those questions. We're still going to work on that, just not right now. And she switched gears for me and has me on a different task. So I'm actually a little relieved that I kind of more so understand what I should be doing. And yeah, so that's my update for like my internship. But outside of that, something exciting. Um, I went to the Chris Brown concert. I had an amazing time. So I wanted to share that. I've been sharing that every time anybody asks me anything great about my week. That's what I've been sharing.
Yeah, Morgan, thank you. Wow. All around, I think about the that's fabulous that you were able to have a conversation with your supervisor, and it sounds like break the ice and also get conversation going and asking for what you need. I think in the internships, it's ideal if you have a relationship, like a rapport that you can have a conversation with your supervisor. I think it depends, right? Some people I think are going to have phenomenal relationships with their supervisor and conversations, and other people are going to be like, wow, what's going on? So it's good to hear that you were able to process some questions and get answers in a new space. So kudos to that and to your fun concert too.
I gotta go next, but it's like, I, to keep it short and simple, I reached out to Professor Dr. Hagen. That woman works in seconds. I never seen somebody work so fast, like make things happen. And what's it called? She helped me with my little dilemma that I was going through. And if it wasn't for me to reach out to her, I think it would have been fixed in seconds. But if you needed help for like anything regarding like your um pursuing your education, like here with the social work and anything, Dr. Claire, she's one of them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll go next. I'm fast. Um, my internship's going good. I had a meeting with one of my bosses about my internship and everything today, like figuring out my rules that we talked about last week, because I didn't know what like my what's it called, like my position was as an intern. And she thought it was an odd question.
Oh,
She was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, what am I interning for?" And she was like, to do your job. I was like, oh, word. But no, then she told me it was for the QIDP position because I'm already in ADSP and I'm learning more of the paperwork aspect than the actual like scheduling meetings and stuff like that and everything and actual like one-on-ones with clients and meeting their individualized goals and not just like doing their day-to-day tasks, which is what I do like every day. I just like cook, clean, stuff like that. But now I'm actually trying to meet their goals within their personalized plans and help them actually make implication plans and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was very informative. Yeah, I feel a little tired today. I'm not gonna lie, guys. That's all.
Well, wow, you were brave in asking about that job description. I have some thoughts about that, but I'll wait in general because I'm curious. I was thinking about how I was like went off a little bit about job description. So I had some thoughts and feelings about that after, but I'll save it. Thank you for sharing. More people. I know I'm like,
I'll go next. Hey everybody. Yesterday was like our first day like getting acclimated at Rush. We got like one of our first we had like all these training modules that we had to do previous to this. It's like a pretty extensive onboarding process. But yesterday, like we were getting our training on the Epic system, which I thought was really cool. I'm going to be working with an interdisciplinary team of doctors and psychologists and psychotherapists. So it was really cool to like start seeing how that kind of works. We got like our offices yesterday, and something that was pretty cool was that I have a meditation room right next to my office. So I thought that was something really nice to have, like just access to walking out of my office. And then they've like pretty much given us our schedule for the next month of like training and onboarding. We're gonna do this like taking charge of your health leadership course for the next, I think, 3 weeks, and then some more like epic training and stuff like that. So I'm just really excited to learn about all the workshops and programs that we'll be providing for the community.
thank you. Ooh, epic. So electronic health record, it sounds like some journey into that and much more. The onboarding, training, figuring out roles for everybody here. Is that everybody? Did everybody touch base? I see yes, but if I'm missing someone, yell out, please. Because I have like this little strip of people here and I might be not seeing. Well, you all did it. You're here. You finished first week or you're about to embark on another week. Congrats. And I love hearing just what's going on in general. It doesn't always have to be great. Like I know these internships and places can be sometimes bananas, or it can be glorious also, or somewhere in between. And then also when Annie, when you were mentioning about the job description, I was thinking about how some folks may not have a job description, and I think that that is also part of the beginning. If you do not have a job description, it is not a, I think that different places have different flow. And so, if it is very chaotic in your agency and you're like, whoa, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. But I know things will unfold as we go through the learning agreement and you have to talk to your supervisor and you have supervision, that things will become clearer if they're not. But I do think, job descriptions sometimes are great things. It's a good guidepost to have. But I was thinking about, I was like, oh, shouldn't be demanding and saying everyone should have a job description, because that's not how some organizations operate. So it is helpful. And I wanted to share too, in terms of, it was just, I am so thrilled to be instructing this class and working along with everybody. I think it's working in Chicago House is my day-to-day gig. But being able to hear about all of your experiences and be along with in your process really comes full circle a lot, where for me. And so it's such an honor and a privilege to be in this class, and to be part of it, because I have interns at Chicago House, and then I also have work at Chicago House, and being able to see and experience along with the other side of what's going on for you all as learners, and some people who have already done things in community, seasoned or new. It's just it's a great place for me to be in. So I was thinking about that this week, and just was excited about it. So thanks everybody for sharing, checking in. For our next adventure, last week we were gonna watch Brene Brown, and the time just flew. So it's this time I'm gonna share the TED Talk. The TED Talk is about 20 minutes. And there is a couple questions I want you to think about while you're watching it, and then we'll do some breakout rooms. I also want to thank you so much for having your cameras on. I mean, for the video, I don't, if you don't need to keep your camera on for video, but like I appreciate just seeing faces. For the most part, I understand there might be times, but I love having participation. It's so much more rich when everybody shares. I know things go on, so it's not like I'm a stickler for things, but I just wanted to mention, I appreciate seeing you, and hearing from you. And yeah, because it's quite different from in person to Zoom, and hoping we can keep some vibes going and connection points in terms of that. All right, so I'm going to share this Brene Brown video, Power of Vulnerability. And while we're watching it, just think about a moment in the talk that you resonate with personally. And then also an insight for yourself about how vulnerability can impact practice, like professional practice. Now I'm going to share this, and if something goes on with the sound, it's like my nightmare here. Like I think everything's set, but I just want like a thumbs up or, oh, I hear sound, so that way we all know it's going to go well. Like it should be all right. Well, sorry. Can you all hear this? Awesome. I know it's little, I can't, but she just stands talking.
So I'll start with this. A couple of years ago, an event planner called me because I was going to do a speaking event, and she called and she said, I'm really struggling with how to write about you on the little flyer. And I thought, well, what's the struggle? And she said, well, I saw you speak, and I'm going to call you a researcher, I think, but I'm afraid if I call you a researcher, no one will come because they'll think you're boring and irrelevant. And I was like, okay. And she said, but the thing I liked about your talk is, you're a storyteller, so I think what I'll do is just call you a storyteller. And of course, the academic, insecure part of me was like, you're going to call me a what? And she said, I'm going to call you a storyteller. And I was like, oh, why not Magic Pixie? I was like, let me think about this for a second. And so I tried to call deep on my courage. And I thought, I am a storyteller. I'm a qualitative researcher. I collect stories. That's what I do. And maybe stories are just data with a soul, and maybe I'm just a storyteller. So I said, you know what? Why don't you just say I'm a researcher storyteller? And she went, there's no such thing. So I'm a researcher storyteller. And I'm going to talk to you today. We're talking about expanding perception. And so I want to talk to you and tell some stories about a piece of my research that fundamentally expanded my perception and really actually changed the way that I live and love and work and parent. And this is where my story starts. When I was a young researcher, doctoral student, my first year I had a research professor who said to us, here's the thing, if you cannot measure it, it does not exist. And I thought he was just sweet talking me. I was like, really? And he's like, absolutely. So you have to understand that I have a bachelor's in social work, a master's in social work, and I was getting my PhD in social work. So my entire academic career was surrounded by people who kind of believed in the life's messy, love it, and I'm more the life's messy, clean it up, organize it, and put it into a bento box. And so to think that I had found my way, to found a career that takes me, really one of the big sayings in social work is lean into the discomfort of the work. And I'm like, knock discomfort upside the head and move it over and get all A's. That was my mantra. So I was very excited about this. And so I thought, you know what? This is the career for me because I am interested in some messy topics, but I want to be able to make them not messy. I want to understand them. I want to hack into these things I know are important and lay the code out for everyone to see. So where I started was with connection, because by the time you're a social worker for 10 years, what you realize is that connection is why we're here. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. This is what it's all about. It doesn't matter whether you talk to people who work in social justice and mental health and abuse and neglect. What we know is that connection, the ability to feel connected, is neurobiologically, that's how we're wired. It's why we're here. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start with connection. Well, that situation where you get an evaluation from your boss and she tells you 37 things that you do really awesome and one thing that you can't, an opportunity for growth. And all you can think about is that opportunity for growth, right? Well, apparently this is the way my work went as well, because when you ask people about love, they tell you about heartbreak. When you ask people about belonging, they'll tell you their most excruciating experiences of being excluded. And when you ask people about connection, the stories they told me were about disconnection. So very quickly, really about 6 weeks into this research, I ran into this unnamed thing that absolutely unraveled connection in a way that I didn't understand or had never seen. And so I pulled back out of the research and thought, I need to figure out what this is. And it turned out to be shame. And shame is really easily understood as the fear of disconnection. Is there something about me that if other people know it or see it, that I won't be worthy of connection? The things I can tell you about it, it's universal. We all have it. The only people who don't experience shame have no capacity for human empathy or connection. No one wants to talk about it, and the less you talk about it, the more you have it. What underpinned this shame, this I'm not good enough, which we all know that feeling, I'm not blank enough, I'm not thin enough, rich enough, beautiful enough, smart enough, promoted enough. The thing that underpinned this was excruciating vulnerability. This idea of, in order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen, really seen. And you know how I feel about vulnerability. I hate vulnerability. And so I thought, this is my chance to beat it back with my measuring stick. I'm going in, I'm going to figure this stuff out, I'm going to spend a year, I'm going to totally deconstruct shame, I'm going to understand how vulnerability works, and I'm going to outsmart it. So I was ready, and I was really excited. As you know, it's not going to turn out well. You know this. So I could tell you a lot about shame, but I'd have to borrow everyone else's time. But here's what I can tell you that it boils down to. And this may be one of the most important things that I've ever learned in the decade of doing this research. My 1 year has turned into 6 years, thousands of stories, hundreds of long interviews, focus groups. At one point, people were sending me journal pages and sending me their stories, thousands of pieces of data. And 6 years. And I kind of got a handle on it. I kind of understood this is what shame.
Oops. Sorry, y'all. I had a.
Justice and mental health and abuse and neglect. What we know is that connection. No one wants to talk about it, and the less. As you know, it's not going to turn out well. You know this. So I could tell you a lot about shame, but I'd have to borrow everyone else's time. But here's what I can tell you that it boils down to. And this may be one of the most important things that I've ever learned in the decade of doing this research. My 1 year has turned into 6 years, thousands of stories, hundreds of long interviews, focus groups. At one point, people were sending me journal pages and sending me their stories, thousands of pieces of data, and 6 years. And I kind of got a handle on it. I kind of understood this is what shame is, this is how it works. I wrote a book, I published a theory, but something was not okay. And what it was is that if I roughly took the people I interviewed and divided them into people who really have a sense of worthiness. That's what this comes down to, a sense of worthiness. They have a strong sense of love and belonging. And folks who struggle for it, and folks who are always wondering if they're good enough. There was only one variable that separated the people who have a strong sense of love and belonging and the people who really struggle for it, and that was the people who have a strong sense of love and belonging believe they're worthy of love and belonging. That's it. They believe they're worthy. And to me, the hard part of the one thing that keeps us out of connection is our fear that we're not worthy of connection, was something that personally and professionally I felt like I needed to understand better. So what I did is I took all of the interviews where I saw worthiness, where I saw people living that way, and just looked at those. What do these people have in common? And I have a slight office supply addiction, but it's another talk. So I had a manila notebook, a manila folder, and I had a Sharpie, and I was like, what am I going to call this research? And the first words that came to my mind were wholehearted. These are kind of wholehearted people living from this deep sense of worthiness. So I wrote at the top of the manila folder, and I started looking at the data. In fact, I did it first in this in a 4-day, very intensive data analysis where I went back, pulled these interviews, pulled the stories, pulled the incidents. What's the theme? What's the pattern? My husband left town with the kids because I always go into this kind of Jackson Pollock crazy thing where I'm just like writing and going and kind of just in my researcher mode. And so here's what I found. What they had in common was a sense of courage. And I want to separate courage and bravery for you for a minute. Courage, the original definition of courage, when it first came into the English language, it's from the Latin word cur, meaning heart. And the original definition was to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. And so these folks had, very simply, the courage to be imperfect. They had the compassion to be kind to themselves first and then to others, because as it turns out, we can't practice compassion with other people if we can't treat ourselves kindly. And the last was they had connection, and this was the hard part, as a result of authenticity. They were willing to let go of who they thought they should be in order to be who they were, which is, you have to absolutely do that for connection. The other thing that they had in common was this. They fully embraced vulnerability. They believed that what made them vulnerable made them beautiful. They didn't talk about vulnerability being comfortable, nor did they really talk about it being excruciating, as I had heard earlier in the shame interviewing. They just talked about it being necessary. They talked about the willingness to say I love you first. The willingness to do something where there are no guarantees. The willingness to breathe through waiting for the doctor to call after your mammogram. The willing to invest in a relationship that may or may not work out. They thought this was fundamental. I personally thought it was betrayal. I could not believe I had pledged allegiance to research, where our job, the definition of research is to control and predict, to study phenomenon for the explicit reason to control and predict. And now my mission to control and predict had turned up the answer that the way to live is with vulnerability and to stop controlling and predicting. This led to a little breakdown, which actually looked more like this. And it did. It led to I call it a breakdown, my therapist calls it a spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening sounds better than breakdown, but I assure you it was a breakdown. And I had to put my data away and go find a therapist. Let me tell you something. You know who you are when you call your friends and say, I think I need to see somebody. Do you have any recommendations? Because about 5 of my friends are like, woo, I wouldn't want to be your therapist. And I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, I'm just saying, don't bring your measuring stick. It's like, okay. So I found a therapist. My first meeting with her, Diana, I brought in my list of the way the wholehearted live. And I sat down and she said, how are you? And I said, I'm great, I'm okay. And she said, what's going on? And I said, and this is a therapist who sees therapists, because we have to go to those because their BS meters are good. And so I said, here's the thing, I'm struggling. And she said, what's the struggle? And I said, well, I have a vulnerability issue. And, and I know that vulnerability is kind of the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness, but it appears that it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, of love. And I think I have a problem. And I need some help. And I said, but here's the thing, no family stuff, no childhood shit. I just need some strategies. Thank you. So she goes like this. And then I said, it's bad, right? And she said, it's neither good nor bad. It just is what it is. And I said, oh my God, this is gonna suck. And it did, and it didn't. And it took about a year. And you know how there are people that, like, when they realize that vulnerability and tenderness are important, that they kind of surrender and walk into it? A, that's not me. And B, I don't even hang out with people like that. For me, it was a year-long street fight. It was a slugfest. Vulnerability pushed, I pushed back. I lost the fight, but probably won my life back. And so then I went back into the research and spent the next couple of years really trying to understand what they, the wholehearted, what the choices they were making, and what are we doing with vulnerability? Why do we struggle with it so much? Am I alone in struggling with vulnerability? No. So this is what I learned. We numb vulnerability. When we're waiting for the call, it was funny, I sent something out on Twitter and on Facebook that says, how would you define vulnerability? What makes you feel vulnerable? And within an hour and a half, I had 150 responses. Because I wanted to know, what's out there. Having to ask my husband for help because I'm sick and we're newly married. Initiating sex with my husband. Initiating sex with my wife. Being turned down. Asking someone out. Waiting for the doctor to call back, getting laid off, laying off people. This is the world we live in. We live in a vulnerable world. And one of the ways we deal with it is we numb vulnerability. And I think there's evidence, and it's not the only reason this evidence exists, but I think that it's a huge cause. We are the most in debt, obese, addicted, and medicated adult cohort in U.S. history. The problem is, and I learned this from the research, that you cannot selectively numb emotion. You can't say, here's the bad stuff. Here's vulnerability, here's grief, here's shame, here's fear, here's disappointment. I don't want to feel these. I'm going to have a couple of beers and a banana nut muffin. I don't want to feel these. And I know that's knowing laughter. I hack into your lives for a living. I know that's, God. You can't numb those hard feelings without numbing the other affects or emotions. You cannot selectively numb. So when we numb those, we numb joy. We numb gratitude. We numb happiness. And then we are miserable and we are looking for purpose and meaning, and then we feel vulnerable, so then we have a couple of beers and a banana nut muffin, and it becomes this dangerous cycle. One of the things that I think that we need to think about is why and how we numb, and it doesn't just have to be addiction. The other thing we do is we make everything that's uncertain certain. Religion has gone from a belief in faith and mystery to certainty. I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. That's it. Just certain. The more afraid we are, the more vulnerable we are, the more afraid we are. This is what politics looks like today. There's no discourse anymore. There's no conversation. There's just blame. You know how blame is described in the research? A way to discharge pain and discomfort. We perfect. If there's anyone who wants their life to look like this, it would be me. But it doesn't work, because what we do is we take fat from our butts and put it in our cheeks. Which just, I hope in 100 years people will look back and go, wow. And we perfect, most dangerously, our children. Let me tell you what we think about children. They're hardwired for struggle when they get here. When you hold those perfect little babies in your hand, our job is not to say, look at her, she's perfect. My job is just to keep her perfect, make sure she makes the tennis team by 5th grade and Yale by 7th grade. That's not our job. Our job is to look and say, you know what? You're imperfect and you're wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging. That's our job. Show me a generation of kids raised like that and we'll end the problems I think that we see today. We pretend that what we do doesn't have an effect on people. We do that in our personal lives. We do that corporate, whether it's a bailout, an oil spill, a recall. We pretend like what we're doing doesn't have a huge impact on other people. I would say to companies, this is not our first rodeo, people. We just need you to be authentic and real and say, we're sorry, we'll fix it. But there's another way, and I'll leave you with this. This is what I have found. To let ourselves be seen. Deeply seen. Vulnerably seen. To love with our whole hearts, even though there's no guarantee. And that's really hard. And I can tell you as a parent, that's excruciatingly difficult. To practice gratitude and joy in those moments of kind of terror when we're wondering, can I love you this much? Can I believe in this as passionately? Can I be this fierce about this? Just to be able to stop and instead of catastrophizing what might happen, to say, I'm just so grateful, because to feel this vulnerable means I'm alive. And the last, which I think is probably the most important, is to believe that we're enough. Because when we work from a place, I believe, that says, I'm enough, then we stop screaming and start listening. We're kinder and gentler to the people around us, and we're kinder and gentler to ourselves. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hello. All right. Initial reactions, thoughts, points that hit you. Yes, Millie.
I'm sorry, I keep hitting different buttons when I'm trying to undo the meal. I liked what she said at the beginning about she's interested in messy topics but doesn't want to make them messy. I think something like that. So I know, like, for example, as therapists, there might be like some topics that might be like uncomfortable, or like I don't know, like I don't know, like, I don't know how to explain it. For patients, basically, for our clients. And I understand what she means by that, like how she wants to deal and discuss these topics that she knows are tricky for people sometimes. Showing vulnerability. But she wants to be able to like talk about them without it getting messy, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. Was there any? Oh, yes.
Sorry, I just thought of something else.
Yeah.
I like what she said at the end about like coming from like a place of gratitude and joy. When, like, I don't know, you're having like difficult moments, showing gratitude for like what's going right, or like what you've learned along the way, instead of catastrophizing everything. Because it's really easy for like some people, like myself included, to sometimes start panicking, or just seeing the worst in it. So like, see, I like that quote, what she said.
Thank you. Anybody have any aha moments or moments? There's definitely some parts where she gave me chills a little bit. And this isn't my first rodeo with Brene Brown videos either. Jess.
There's this something she said, and this isn't verbatim, just because she was talking really fast. But she said something like, we can't be compassionate with other people if you aren't compassionate with yourself or kind with yourself. And I feel like that resonated with me a lot, especially when I was younger, because I tried being very outgoing and nice to other people. But at the end of the day, I wasn't taking care of myself, so it just kind of was bringing me down. Like, as much as I was bringing people up, me giving all my energy and having so much compassion for other people and not saving any for myself, it was just a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
I have also, I know she talked about how we always fight with religion, how we always think that we're right. And a lot of times we're not. And I noticed that in my community, they don't let you have a second thought or question their religion at all. So that's also resonated with me.
Thank you. Yeah. yes, I do.
So I really can connect with her because she's come from the research field, like a control and predict, that kind of organization she has in her mind always. And she encountered those breakdown or spiritual awakening, she said, about discomfort and messy because like I said, I'm in mental, the drop-in center for mental people with mental illness, and a lot of activity. It's actually give me a chaotic feeling because they're so like it may be like she said, the people with a wholehearted people, a lot of them, they're very honest, and then they express themselves very clearly and seeking for fun and so many creativity they are offer, and then the program offers that too. And in my head, I was in even accounting in a history of my career. So I kind of like some kind of organization in a sense. So it was almost like her, not breakdown, but for me, it's chaos. Like I even told supervisor, it's little, because they're doing a improv, like acting, and then sometimes puppet, show they suddenly started kind of. So I really I could feel what she's saying, and I don't have a therapist, but and also I like when she said, because I watched this before too, and I like that when she said we can numb partially of our emotion. We numb everything. That's very scary, but it's so true. When you have a bad day at work, you come home and then you kind of shut down. Like you can't just, and then you won't even seek for the fun sometimes. So I that was really eye opening for me to hear that.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for giving me grace too in my sharing of that miniature video with the words across it. Where I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it like this fancy way, and then it was a little screen. So next, I'd love to have us do some breakout groups. I'm gonna have, I think, 3 groups of 4 people each, and then I have a question for you all to dive into within your groups. I have here, let me share, and then I'll share into the so here I'll be able to copy and paste. Whoops, not yet, no break yet. I'm gonna do some breakout groups, and I'm gonna put these questions first. I'll put them also in the chat, but I'll just put people in random groups of 1, 2, or 3. So how I would love for, we'll be in those groups for about 15 minutes. And just how does vulnerability relate to building trust and social work? How can we model healthy vulnerability as social work without compromising professional boundaries? And how can we understand vulnerability to improve empathy and engagement with our clients? So let me see here. Here, I'm gonna share in case something goes awry with being able to see the questions once you all get put into the rooms. Annie, Jessica, Max, and Morgan, you're in group 1. So please, I will put in the questions in the chat, but I'm not able to do it this second. So in case group 2 is Adam. I'm not sure if I'm saying Diana. I may be.
Donna.
I'm sorry.
Startup.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question of how to continue with boundaries, but showing vulnerability with clients and in the workplace. Has anyone done that well or not done that well before?
I think just like when friends are venting, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I know, like I know what that's like, but not not like, oh, that happened to me too, and like this is what happened, and like this is my story now, and like, you know, not oversharing, not kind of taking over the conversation or taking away the voice of the person that is there to be heard, but allowing and appreciating and acknowledging with them, like, oh yeah, thank you for sharing, like, and just being open. And if you want to, relate, like, you know, I understand that, and it must be really hard what you're going through. These are some of the things that helped me. Maybe we could try them, and just kind of steering the conversation back to them and like their treatment.
Yeah, we're in a group too, but we saying don't overshare, no trauma dumping. Is that what you say? But I kind of share, in my internship, in a group setting, everybody is actually share what's their diagnosis. It's up to the clients too, but workers and the interns is actually a lot of them are CRSS, certified recovery support specialists. So they actually have their diagnosis and they recover. So they actually related to the clients. That's the purpose of the program, I guess. So we share that, but I think in a sense the client is the main people, and then focus. So we bring that to just relate and then make them comfortable, but our focus is should be still them, and it gives the how do you say lived experience, and then they can relate to us, like draw them to the conversation, and then but they are the main focus.
Yeah. What I was thinking about how a lot about disclosure when we talk about vulnerability, and as providers or service providers in any sense, like how to know when to disclose anything or what to disclose about yourself. And there's an ethical standard of any disclosure should be beneficial to the client, right? And so Brene Brown, as well as talking about any vulnerability, we're talking about vulnerability and the ills of society potentially. And I think that there's a lot of process and thought that can go into that. But I do think as practitioners, we have, or as supervisors or as providers, like when we do share our own vulnerabilities with clients, like wondering what the purpose is for our share, like in the end result. Um, and I think also bringing up, there's a lot of new, like I think that in the industry of social service, there's a lot more which I think is great. If people like peer support specialists and people who have lived experience working in field of social work. And we do that. We have that a lot in Chicago House too. And it also brings up different kinds of boundaries because people are so close, right? Like it's not the dynamic may be close in terms of who the clients are and who the providers are. And so I think that in terms of vulnerability, it can be a really, we're not going to scoop out everything about vulnerability, but I think that um, taking in consideration a lot of the impacts that vulnerability can have. And also, I think about how vulnerability also brings into authentic self, like for all of us, for clients and providers, like how we're showing up and being who we truly are, even though we're not disclosing everything. Millie, yes, don't make the situations about yourself, allow the person to vent.
I feel like it also gives the client kind of more of an overview of who you are. Therefore, it can probably let them express who they are as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just giving them, like we talked about in our last class, like that brave space,
Mm.
where they feel, comfortable enough to, communicate how they've been feeling or just communicate anything in general with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing I'm curious about is if there's anything from here in this vulnerability discussion and the questions that you can take away. Either just maybe it's not in your internship, maybe it is, like anything you might take away. Millie, yes.
Something that I was telling my group right now was how this therapist that I was seeing, yeah, therapist, she had told me once how for I was just telling her how I wanted to come back to do school for social work and I wasn't sure, like what if I didn't make it, just whatever. And she was telling me that like it's not like the end of the rope, basically. Like for example, for her, right now she's doing therapy, counseling, but she knows that it's not her forever job, because she does want to move on at some point and do something else. So I like that because I was always just kind of seeing it in my mind, like I guess really like narrow-minded, like, oh, it's gonna be social worker and that's it. Um, and then she kind of like, I guess, made me realize like it's okay if it's not the end of it. Like you can always switch careers or something if it just doesn't work out for you.
Thank you. Social work's a amazing, dynamic, applicable degree that you can. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but there are so many jobs and professions and environments. Yeah.
I think that vulnerability is like a very like intentional act. It allows to show your depth of compassion and empathy, and it mirrors that to the client. I think that it also would ultimately help them open up because it shows your state of being, in relation to being authentic and aware. And I think that would ultimately allow a space for comfort and to be seen and heard.
100%. Thank you. Yeah, Adam, what's on your mind?
It really gives us a great opportunity to turn what some might perceive as weakness into resilience when working with people, which I think is great.
Mhm. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I shared this afternoon a couple of sheets. One of them was a values sheet. And I know sometimes people don't have access to email during the day, depending on what's going on, work and such, or other classes. So I'm going to share the sheet here, but it's the same thing that I shared in email. We're going to, these are a list of values. And what I would love is, of course, this is some values, there's many values, but thinking about in social work and living in our values, like understanding our main values that we, as each individual, how we engage with those values and what they are. So, and how we follow up on our behaviors for these values. So here are some values that can guide our work that are common. And I would love for folks to take like 5 minutes and write about the two values on this list or make your own that lead you to your social work or that guide your working with social work. Let's see here. Down here. That's all right, Annie. Thank you so much. And just pick only two values. And I know it's very tempting there's so many good ones on here, or just values in general. There's many potentials of how you lead your work, and what things are extremely important. So you can start to, if you have the paper, circle or just like visualize or write them down, but narrow them down in the next couple minutes to just the two.
Integrity and dignity. I think they kind of go hand in hand in a way. When I think of integrity, I think of like doing what's right even when no one else is looking type of thing. And when I'm thinking of like dignity is like just like having respect for myself, but also to others. Just like treating everyone with respect. And I feel like just also like so standing up for folks even when they are not in the room is important. I think is just doing the right thing even when no one is looking type of thing or like watching. And I think it's important as a social worker for me to um hone in on like hone in on these two like values when like working with like clients, with, co-workers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. That piece about doing something even when no one's watching is I I'm with that one. Especially in as social service providers or working in organizations, sometimes there's nobody guiding. Sometimes there is, but sometimes there isn't. Like, and there's a lot of choices sometimes we have to make, right? So thank you. I saw other hands up too. Who else has got some values to share?
That was me. Um, I would say kindness because I work in substance abuse. I'm a substance abuse counselor, and a lot of people They complain about not having kind people that listen to them. So treating them with kindness and self-respect, it's one thing that stands out for me. And gratitude as well. You know, it makes me grateful for the life that I have and what I can give, what I can give more to other people
Mm-hmm.
and the people in need.
Yeah.
I can go next. So for mine, I chose patience.
Mhm.
Um, and I chose it because I feel like sometimes we as humans live a very fast-paced life, and especially also as students. And I've noticed that sometimes with um, living a fast-paced life, sometimes it kind of bumps heads with our time management. Um, and so I just feel like being a patient person overall is very helpful because you're there to understand them and you're there to give them that space where they can feel like, not everything is crazy and just moving around all the time.
Mm.
Um, and in my internship, we're dealing with students, and some of them have already told me while I was doing some tabling outside that they've been dealing with time management issues just because of classes, life, and everything just moving by so fast, and they can't really organize their life. So I feel like patience is a really big thing for me, and I feel like as a future social worker, um, I want to help my clients with that and provide as much support as I can because even I struggle with that
Mhm.
daily. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Patience. Yeah, the fast-paced environment of organizations, whatever they are, um, there's oftentimes a lack of reflection process. Um, we're hurrying up and doing a lot of different things, or the people around us, our supervisors, gets onto our clients. Um, I like these a lot because patience too can mean patience for the organization we work in. I I feel like I need a lot of patience in my organization. Sometimes it's just so frustrating when things aren't functioning after year, so it can come in a lot of ways. So thank you. And the kindness too. I think Mani, when you were talking about kindness, that is also people who have gone through something in their life and they're coming for assistance. It can come down to, I think that a lot of our profession can come down to customer service in a way, or client service, like the way that we're presenting ourselves. And the organization is greeting people and welcoming people, like it can be simple or complex, but very important ways that we're presenting.
I go next. I would say, just because I wanted to kind of sort of piggyback, I also, patience was high on there for me. But my second one was accountability. I feel
Mhm.
like it's just it's a powerful thing to be able to recognize that you may have rubbed
Mhm.
someone the wrong way, or you may have been out of line on something, even down to the littlest things. I just think it's just a powerful thing, and a lot of people don't have the ability to apologize or
Mm.
realize when they were in the wrong. But as social workers, I think, um, or even as humans, we're not perfect. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna um, you might have, let's say, cut someone off or something like that, but to be able to be like, I didn't mean to do that. It's very, it just touches people in a different way, and they have trust, and they build more trust with you after they realize, like, okay, that's not how she meant it, or that's not what it was. It was just a human reaction.
Mhm. Accountability. Accountability is a big one. in organizations where there's a lot of things also going on and people keeping track of what they're supposed to be doing or the mistakes we make. And yeah, there's a lot of pressure that goes to do the tasks at hand and just do everything too. And we're definitely not perfect. Anyone else want to share values? Oh, yes, Millie.
So I chose serenity and perseverance. For serenity, I think it's important to have like kind of like a cool, calm, collected attitude, especially us as social workers. And then I know, for example, me going into like the DCFS, I can't, I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be like times when there's gonna be families that I meet where the kids are like being abused. Um, and like I'm a real sensitive person, so like I cry easily. But I know like and I'm a parent, so I know I can't like let these kids' situations get the best of me and kind of like, break down or like start yelling at the parents or just, get angry at them and start acting unprofessional. And then the other one is perseverance. So just one, like personally, like however many setbacks I've had, like I always come back from like, for example, for school. And I'm gonna keep, well, I'm about to graduate next year, but like, keep on pushing, don't just give up so easily. And then also again with social work and DCFS, for example, trying to contact the families. I know my supervisor told me that there's times where the families might be hard to reach, or you might have to, for example, like go knock on the neighbor's door, see if they've seen the parent or if they witnessed anything, or like go to the school, talk to the doctor, get the medical records, whatever's necessary, basically. So, just keep going, basically.
That makes me think of a lot of other offshoots of the like some of the activities that happen with social workers that are in any space, and different variations of it is de-escalation sometimes, and being calm, or self-regulation. There's a lot going on around us. It's heightened. I mean, it's practice. No one, right? And we're all different. And there's been situations that absolutely send me bananas at work. And a lot of times the only reason I'm able to know how to respond is because it's happened many times, unfortunately, or even a couple times if it's, and there's been process and support for that. So it's so thank you for sharing those values. Okay. Well, I really encourage, if you haven't thought about your values before, maybe you have, maybe you do this all the time. There is also the other worksheet that I shared, that I encourage for y'all to check out. This cool lamp. It's probably more fun to do it like on paper. So I encourage, if it's something for you to do in your time, to go through this. I thought it was a pretty awesome exercise in leading in your values, and why you also don't want 15, because it would be a lot going on with this lamp, with 15 values. And so taking extra time to think about why these particular values you're thinking about are important, and also how you protect these values. And I don't think it's as easy as it seems. I don't know, I was going through this myself, and I think that there are many things that come up, but um and what really resonates for you and like what really guides you when things are hard and rough, or how you know when your values are being compromised. Um, and so we had some of these discussions of what you chose, other questions that if people have, if you are thinking about them or if you have them, what do you see as helping protect these values in your professional life? Or what happens when you notice red flags, like when you're moving away from these things?
I think something that really helps protect the values is just often self-reflecting,
Mm,
which I think is probably pretty apparent that we should do constantly. I'm bad at it, but it's a work in progress.
mm, thank you for sharing that. I found an article about reflecting that I thought was really interesting and the importance of it, and how there was like a study about how it increased people's like wellness. Um, and I think it helps us keep connected to ourselves. Um, Sounds really good, right? But in practice, it's harder. Um, but in this class, that's why we have our reflection journals. I see some people already have been putting them in. So, you know, awesome. You don't have to be early, but I'm glad that people are writing and thinking about what's going on for you in different settings or just in this experience of learning. Um, for mine, I chose learning and thrift. Um, I really enjoy being able to continually hear different perspectives or be in different environments, be it in teaching and social services. When I was a student, being an intern, therapist, just opening my eyes, it constantly shifts the perspective. So it's really something that just continuing to see different ways and then utilizing things like be it theoretical, or physical, like reusing something, not wasting, being efficient, so I think, just please do give some time about what values, how, what do they mean to you, and why are they important, and how are you going to use them in not just your internships, but your professional self, or regular, not professional self, your life. Um, so, but definitely check out the lantern worksheet, um, and doodle on it if you choose. Anything else about values or how you might use them?
I just wanted to piggyback on what Adam was saying. It's funny because I was thinking about self-reflection a lot over the last week or two, and it's something that we have to definitely carve time out for. I think with the way that this society is, there's distractions and social media, filling up our schedule and our families and all these things. If we don't take time to sit in stillness, how to be open to like receiving downloads or having epiphanies or however you view getting those insights, being in touch with your intuition, taking time to reflect. So like I think creating some kind of like daily practice, essentially, if you could do it, maybe every other day or a few times a week or something, to just do these check-ins with yourself, because I feel they're imperative, and like it's kind of synchronicity here that Adam had brought this up, and this has been something that I've been reflecting. I'm reflecting, so it's like an inception of reflection right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting some good habits in there. It's definitely challenging, and there's a lot of things that pull all of us away from keeping centered, from being true to ourselves, and to our values. Because there's social media, right? It's a blessing and a curse. And it's hard to navigate where each is going sometimes. So, well, thank you for sharing that stuff and the values that you're leading yourself with and in the work. Oh, wait, I've got somebody here in the waiting room. All right. So we have about 20 minutes left, and I wanted to go over some updates about just assignments, some updates about timesheets, answer any questions that are coming up about the syllabus. And we're going to really dig in next time about the learning contract agreement. I was thinking if we had a little time today, we would, but it's best to save this amazing task and contract agreement for when we can just be in person. I think it'll go smoother too by being able to see things in person. But let me share here this. So as you all know, just reminders, we've got a good amount of reflections coming up in September. Like I know some people are already doing them. They're guided. If you have questions about what they are in the assignments section, there are detailed descriptions of what we're writing about, like what everybody's writing about. I'm not necessarily looking at like if you did it right or wrong, but just that you're processing where you're at. It is really about the beginning starts or your attempts to step foot into an internship. So even if you don't have an internship, you can write about the process of trying to get an internship. It's okay. And then the learning contract on the 28th. And we have examples that we're going to start to look at, and also working on using some action verbs to describe our learning. And I will send these attachments via email, and they'll also be on D2L before class. Like you don't really have to do anything special, but do check them out and know that they're coming. And then we will go into the specifics, like of how you can write in your learning contract. And I haven't looked at anybody, but I'm curious, has anybody talked with their supervisor, about their learning contract? Yes, Jess?
My supervisor yesterday actually did my learning contract. Me and him
Okay.
sat down and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get this done like right now."
And how was that? How was that for you?
It went really well. He, kind of walked me through it, helps me figure out some things to put in the boxes. And I actually had a question. I submitted it on D2L, but I forgot to sign it. But I have like a paper copy, so I'm gonna bring it next class
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff
fine.
like that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if your supervisors are talking with you about the learning contract, here's something I'll say. Like I've seen a lot of learning contracts from a lot of different schools. I've had them master's level or a little different. Like they here in the BSW, you have to write everything. Like and it's a lot. And so I'm glad that you saw, if you have a supervisor that's helping you dig in, that's great as long as it's in line with what your internship is, right? Like if somebody was writing it for you and it had nothing to do with what you're doing, I mean, that's a little dramatic, but I can see then that would be alarming. It can be a collaborative process with your supervisor. Your supervisor might take the lead, you might take the lead. But I do want to ensure that everyone has some good guidance in what the heck this is. And there is a good example. Like it's I think it is similar to like job description, like knowing what you're learning in a place. And even if that place is disappointing or phenomenal, you still get to learn, right? Like because it's going to be a continuum for people, which I'm sure we'll get more into as things go on. But yeah, I mean, that's great if your supervisor is like, let's get this thing done. Because it is a task, but it can also be a process, a sharing process, but that's not always how it goes. Did I answer your question? I hope. Right. And even if you did it, this still is useful, I think, to for because you're gonna have to do a learning agreement for any internship you do in your social work career. So it's not over. I mean, unless you do not go to school ever again, then maybe you get out of it. But we'll get into that. Any other questions about learning contracts or concerns for now?
I just have a quick question. I showed the learning contract to the supervisor, and he was like, because I printed out the boxes, the empty ones, and then I printed out the example that you
Yeah.
posted just so he could get an idea. Does he have to fill out, or do we have to fill out all 9 boxes? Because I think I think it was like a lot of boxes.
I know. No, Amelia, that's a phenomenal question. And I imagine I want really at this point for us to have awareness that this thing is due, right? It's not due right now. And that your organizations, like some supervisors may look at you like, what you want me to do this? Um, okay. So we will have them filled out. Like we'll work together in the next class and the next class to fill them out. And there is an example. So what I would say is that in the example of that, just given that your supervisor was like, whoa, what? You can fill them out and you can have a discussion with your supervisor. So it sounds like you're going to be the lead on this learning contract. And it's, you all should have the infrastructure and the knowledge by the time, like next week, we're going to be rolling into it, right? Like, and we can write those things. They don't have to be. So, this next week, take a look at the examples and see if those examples make sense because they're pretty general. Like, you don't have to get real detailed. Like, I'm going to learn how to write a report for DCFS. Like, it can be like, what are some intake processes? Or I'm being real generic here, but like, what is the agency mission? Like, I'm going to learn about the policies. Like, so we'll take what it is in the examples in class and if you have them already, bring your learning contracts. If you have or just bring blank ones, whatever it is cool. But I have to say, as a supervisor, when my intern is like, "Oh, I have this learning contract," I'm like, "Oh, Jesus," But it can be a positive experience of a conversation, and we can work to frame it for any kind of supervisor, right? Like a busy supervisor that's like, I don't know what this is, or a supervisor that's like, let's talk about this. Like, yeah, yeah. That I love your example. Like, what is this? Do we have to do all 9 of them? Um, so, timesheets. Thank you. You brought up before, Millie, I think it was you, that the timesheet situation was not working. And so it was brought up in the meeting I was in the other day that there's some administrative process that they're updating. And then also, I'm not in that system. So just please do keep track of your hours on the side. And as I learn how you're supposed to input those things and when it functions, I'll give some clear instructions on that. So thanks for bringing that to my attention because I wouldn't see what was on your side. So if things like that come up, like if you're not for anything, right? Like if something doesn't make sense, like or if it's not working, I'm glad that you brought it up and certainly do bring up these things. But if people have questions about hours and how you're keeping track of them on the side until you submit them, you can also share with me and let me know, like, or email me. I'm happy to chat with you one to one. And which brings me to what next is, well, there's two things. Whoops, sorry, I'm like hitting buttons. My office hours, like I'm always available after class, and I know some people go right to the next class. So if you are, I'm happy, more than happy to schedule anything one to one. Just let me know. I'm often able to meet before class, or just let me know what works for you, and then we can make that happen. And it can be for anything, for assignments, for concern about internship, or I don't know, even enthusiasm. Maybe something's going great and you just want to let me know. I'm happy with that too. So, or any struggle you're having with a class or whatnot. And then I want to share here my Zoom. I was looking at there's this is my Zoom. Oops. Yeah. This my it's a personal meeting room. It's under the Zoom tab on D2L, and I was looking at it. So there's a Zoom link for this class, which I emailed today, and it's also in the class Zoom link on D2L. I hope I'm making sense. If not, and then this personal meeting room. I mean, I'll give you if you ask for a meeting, I'm going to give you this, but like I just want to let you know that there's like if you're ever like poking around in D2L and see like, oh, this is the class link. If it says personal meeting room, that's just where we can meet. I was confused by it personally. So that's why I'm like, I was like, what is this? And then also, if you have not yet done your internship placement survey that was sent out, I will send out the link again, also with the other things that I send. I haven't seen how many people have or have not done them. So if you've done it, fantastic. If you have not, please do it, and I'll reshare that link also. But any questions about any of these bits, timesheets?
I saw the timesheet announcement on D2L about something not working. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that like a website that we're supposed to put in our hours or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's something going on with the admin process of it. So you don't, until it's working, I'll let everybody know when it's working. You don't even, just make sure you're tracking on like your own, in a calendar. If you need helpful hints on how to do that, from I haven't seen the BSW timesheet function. Like, I don't think you have to like identify like if it's direct service hours or admin hours. But just, to keep a little log of when you're at your internship and that, whatever that be, remote, in person, onboarding, right? Signing papers, getting a picture taken, commuting there, like it all counts. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was my only question because I saw it and I was just confused. But
Yeah.
thankfully, my internship, like they make
Oh,
us input our hours on Google Calendar, so
no.
I pretty much have it tracked there.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I think there's probably variations that people have, or if you know your hours, um, we'll make sure the hours are accurately portrayed when they're needed.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only question or
Cool.
concern. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, then just to check out here, anything people are leaving with or a takeaway from today? Or please share. Please share a takeaway or anything you're leaving with or anything you want to leave. You can leave it here in this Zoom room. That's fine.
I think I can share something. So I started, the intern. Well, okay, we can talk about everything else than intern too, but it's happened to me recently. So internship, and then I was all in my head, and then it's all in my head. Kind of struggling to adjust the situation, and I was a little not sad, but some kind of moment I've been having it. And then I talked to my sister, and she is a nurse, and then she went to internship at the mental health institution before, and her suggestion or advice was just have fun. um, it's not easy, but don't forget kind of fun moment, find a fun moment, seek the joy, and some kind of humor, to just keep yourself like positive or upbeat. We deal with a lot of, their stress or trauma or so many stuff. So it was great. Her suggestion was, she told me some funny story she encountered at the internship. It can be, see as a serious situation, but you see it as a little funny moment. So that's little lift me up. So yeah, just sharing with you guys, because you guys been dealing with so many stuff, and then we can be in the head so much, and so it's good to like laugh, and then physically healthy to just keep us going, and then seeing long term career. So
Yeah. Keeping the joy, keeping the humor. I like that.
I kind of also want to say, like, if anyone else feels like kind of confused or stuck in their internship, like, don't worry, because I am too. Like, we're just, you know, I've been feeling like that, even though it's like the second week almost. I'm just like, am I even doing the right thing? But, but I'm just excited. I think that's the best thing that I could feel is just excitement that I'm finally doing something in the field that I'm interested in and that I'm hoping to, you know, do in the future when I graduate.
Oh, and then we need to turn in some kind of form for graduation by September 15th or something,
Yes, you
right?
do.
If you
Yes.
graduate in May, I was like surprised, already. But
We just got another email about it while we were in class. Apparently, that ACR form and the graduation application have to be sent together, but he's planning on returning those to us by Friday, he said. So check your email.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for talking about graduating already. Woohoo. Well, I hope you all have a lovely week, and I look forward to seeing you in person next week. We'll have a party around contracts, learning agreements, and some other stuff. You know, who knows? Who knows what kind of what other beautiful worksheets I'll come up with during the week to share.